The ship explodes! Tiny pieces scattered everywhere. The force of the blast pushed Superman's limp body away. The kryptonite was gone, but the damage was done. Superman was dying. Now back on Earth, there was a panic. The military was organizing a counterstrike in case Brainiac was still approaching. The scientists at Star Labs were monitoring the whole situation, and once again they called a press conference. This time, Clark Kent wasn't there. But Jimmy Olsen, the photographer, and Lois Lane, the reporter, were there. I'm afraid I have good news and bad news. More images from our long-distance probe have arrived. It appears that the threat of Brainiac has been neutralized. So Jimmy's focusing his camera and snaps a whole bunch of pictures of the scientist. Judging from the explosion in the ship and the elapsed time since its occurrence, I hesitate to say that Superman may in fact be dead. Lois drops her pen. Tears form in her eyes. And Jimmy looks at her. Gosh, Miss Lane, this is terrible. Where do you think Mr. Kent is? He needs to know this.
Jimmy, I think he already knows. That's probably why he isn't here.
Dad.
Yeah?
I'm having trouble hearing a woman's voice come out of your mouth.
So Jimmy says, where do you think Mr. Kent is? And Lois didn't say anything. She was too upset. Now, as news of what happened spread, people wandered around, confused. Some people looked at the sky, hoping to see Superman flying around. Now, the editor of the Daily Planet, Perry White, was standing at his window in his office. I can't believe this is how it ends. Jimmy! Yes, Chief? Where's Kent? I don't know. Miss Lane thinks he's grieving somewhere. He and Superman were pretty close. True. Listen, I'm organizing a memorial service for Superman, and I want you to take the pictures. No! Now, Perry wasn't used to Jimmy objecting to his ideas. And why not? You can't call it a memorial service. He isn't dead! Perry stood and looked at young Jimmy. Superman had saved Jimmy's life on more than one occasion. He knew how much Jimmy admired Superman. Okay, Jimmy. We'll call it a vigil.
What's a vigil?
You hold a vigil when there's still hope. And there's always hope. Because far away from Earth, Superman's limp, lifeless body was still floating. The explosion pushed him away from Brainiac's ship on a path across our solar system. Closer and closer he came to the one thing that could save him.
The sun.
The vigil service in Metropolis began. Lois and Jimmy were standing off to one side. Jimmy clicked the occasional picture, but his heart wasn't in it. Perry White stood in front of the crowd and spoke in a very humble voice. You know, I've been in this business longer than some of you have been alive. I've seen both great and terrible things. I almost didn't believe my eyes the first time I saw Superman. He represents the best qualities in all of us. He's a hero and a friend. And let's face it, he is something to behold. Why, I'll never forget the first time I heard someone say, "Look! Up in this..." And Perry couldn't finish his thought. Something above him was getting closer. Closer! Olsen! Perry pointed at whatever it was. Jimmy raised his camera and stared through the zoom lens. Someone in the crowd said, "Is it a bird?" Someone else said, "Is it a plane?" And Jimmy said, "It's Superman!" And a cheer ripped through the crowd. People cried, they screamed, they laughed. Now it was obvious to anyone who looked up. Superman was back. He floated down and landed right next to Lois Lane. Still overcome, she couldn't speak yet. Superman hugged her and gave her a kiss. Jimmy snapped a whole lot of pictures. And Perry just looked at them and said, "Great Caesar's ghost! We've got a story to write. Where's Kent?" So, is that a good enough story for you?
It was super.
Super. Oh, good grief. Well, you think you'll be able to sleep okay now?
Yeah, but if I have a bad dream, will you be around?
I'm always around, son.
I love you.
I love you too. Good night.